Steve with DURACLUTCH, and today I'm here with Tim, and we're going to go over the features and benefits of our DURACLUTCH R-Series kits. We developed the R-Series 5 to 6 years ago, and what makes the DURACLUTCH R-Series kit better than the traditional flyaway clutch?
Well, first of all, what we started with for the flyaway clutch and the issues that we were dealing with was too many moving parts. You have the flyweight that's resting on a pin that interacts with a roller on a spider, and it's all moving components that they can all wear. And we wanted a simpler design for a more durable design for our consumer, is what we were targeting. And that's what we've come up with the R-Series clutch.
Dirt and dust can get inside of a traditional clutch like this. Can it get inside of a R-Series clutch?
Well, that's one of the things that we were fighting against with the standard design clutch, is that it's totally open design and it gets intruded upon by debris, dust, which in turn wears all those components we were talking about, the weight pins, the clutch weights, the rollers. They're all wearable items and they wear out very fast. Where one of the biggest attributes of the R-Series, it's totally captivated, so we shield the components from the outside, so we don't have to fight those wear issues.
Tim, one of the biggest questions I get asked is startup, taking off. Is the R-Series smoother than a traditional flyaway clutch?
Well, starting back with the flyaway clutch, you've got 3 flyweights in the traditional design that interacts with a roller on the spider. And it all depends on how well you balance that interaction between the weight and the spring and how consistent that it stays. But when you talked about the intrusion of dust, dirt, and parts wearing out, it has a huge effect. It can start out really good, but then it wears, and then your engagement, your driveway, everything suffers and becomes jerky, unstable, unpredictable. That's one of the big gains we have with this. We have 6 rollers in this design where we spread out that wear situation, and it's just a roller against the back of a spider sheath, and they're sharing the workload, and they're also coated, and they're not subject to that torque bounce of a torque pulse constantly adjusting. These rollers are just sitting between 2 machine surfaces and slide and roll, so they actually act like a dampener. There's 6 of them that are acting like a dampener and sharing that load. And these, they don't have to fight against the dirt and the dust. We don't have to worry about them wearing out and changing the way they function. So yes, it's a huge improvement over what the original is.
So Tim, you mentioned something that I get asked a lot, is, alluded to, is that I hear is the road riding capabilities between the 2 clutch. And you mentioned like a torque pulse. So I get from a lot of customers ask and mention that their weights are getting beat up. Is that something that would happen in an R-Series clutch?
No, first of all, let's explain why it happens with the flyaway clutch. Every time that engine fires, it's a torque pulse, a hammer that goes through, and it's sensed in the weight. And it's constantly hammering against the roller, and that's why it digs out a groove in the weight. It was actually designed that way because if the roller itself wasn't strong enough, you would flatten those out. So it's a lot cheaper to change flyweights than it is to change rollers in the spider. So with that steel on that roller in the same throttle position flying down the road, is constantly hammering against that roller, and it grooves out the weight. Where now we have 6 of these rollers in a captivated design who have a coating on them. They're just wedged between 2 contact points, and they're not subject to that torque pulse. So we don't have any of those hammering issues that you see. We have a aluminum surface against a coated surface, and we see no flattening whatsoever on these. So we don't have that issue with this design.
One of the other questions I get asked a lot too is tire size, elevation, riding conditions. Are we able to make accommodations for that?
Yes, that goes into the basis of all of our clutching calibrations. We center on making a calibration that is suited for your nominal tire size up to 2 inches larger in diameter. We take that into consideration when we're doing the calibration. We make a calibration that's desensitized to that, so we're not clutching to a point. We have a very forgiving clutching, and we also set up for going up and larger in tire size and also in elevation. So we can easily make those adjustments for our customers to accommodate what they have for a vehicle in elevation and tire size.
So can you just explain just quickly, when someone goes beyond that 2 sizes tire, what happens to the CVT system when they go too large of a tire?
Well, the best explanation I've been able to come with so people can relate, it's relating back to a 5-speed or 10-speed bicycle. When you have a 5-speed bicycle and you start off from a dead stop in 5th gear, you know how hard it is to overcome that road load before you can get up so it's comfortable to pull that. That's a scenario you're running into when you have clutching that is too heavy for the elevation you're at, or a tire size that's too large. You're starting out in too big of a gear. So basically you're shifting your clutches too fast.
Sure.
We have to slow that shift down. And we do that by decreasing grams of weight in the roller. So we slow that shift down and it accommodates for that diameter that you have in that tire or in your elevation.
So Tim, we started off with the smaller diameter R series, and we have now worked our way up to a larger diameter R series for the Ranger 1000 XPs. Question is, what kind of technology did we learn from the smaller CC machines dating back to Sportsman 500s to where we're at now?
Well, we started out with, it was the initial need for a clutch design that lasted longer and stayed consistent in performance. And that's where this R series came from, the very first one. And we started with the 570s, the 700s, the 800s, and it worked out so well. And what we learned from that we incorporated that into the larger RXL design. And those attributes just followed over. And it's worked out very well for us across the board. So basically, this was the birth of the R series clutch. Those small diameter, started with the 570 and up, and then to the larger diameter. This handles the 1000 and larger.
Let's talk about efficiency.
Yes, very important.
Traditionally, efficiency with belts and with the flyweight clutch. And to where we're at with these and the belt temperature differences that run between the two, I'm just going to say that the R series has a lot less moving parts. This one generates, has a lot more parts moving in it. Does that affect our belt temperature overall?
Well, it can, but the biggest thing you talked about is the efficiency. The more efficient your clutch is, the lower the temperature is going to be. Because if you have a clutch that's slipping, that's when you generate heat. Anytime you have inefficiencies in the clutch design or any slippage, your temperature goes up. And anytime your temperatures start getting higher, that's when your belt starts to suffer, and it'll suffer to a point where it'll actually quit on you. What we have learned with the R series clutch and the total encasing that's going on here, where the movable sheave is actually part of the basket's all cast piece, it actually dissipates heat a lot better, where you don't have that square of surface on this whole flyweight clutch. So our efficiency in clutching, along with the design of the clutch, this clutch runs considerably cooler than that flyweight clutch does.
So I get asked a lot, because this is a sealed design and people thinking it generates heat inside there. Does this air get inside here and actually cool this clutch versus the sealed design?
No, actually it doesn't. The old flyweight design, it actually, when it's turning, it generates wind from the backside of the fins. But at the outside here, you get very little air movement. It's outward. There's no actual air movement through. It's very little.
Sure.
As far as dissipation of heat.
And then you're saying that the aluminum casing is able to absorb some of that heat, and then as it's going around, it's cooling.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. So another part of efficiency too, I know when we have less moving parts, obviously that's going to lead to better fuel mileage.
Yes. And that also gets back to the way we clutch our packages. We go after an all-around package. Number one, having a pinch on the bottom end and a smooth driveway, meaning that it's comfortable to drive for everyone. It's very easy to drive. It's very predictable. That is most important. And then how you shift that clutch and when you shift that clutch and keeping it efficient, that is what allows us to run a lower RPM versus speed, which gives us the better fuel economy. And we don't give up performance and acceleration either. Most of the time you look at our performance graphs, we out-accelerate what the OEMs are.
I personally have driven machines doing durability testing and I've experienced a lot better fuel mileage and a fuel range too. So with the R series. Belts. What makes our DuraBelt different than other belts?
Well, it is the materials that we use in them, for one. The materials that we use are the latest and the best materials, and we're not concerned about cost when making a good quality belt versus the OEMs. Cost is everything.
Right.
We're selling a one-off to our customers, the best that we can build. And we use the very best materials, we use the best procedures, and we want that for our customer. And because we're willing to spend that money for the design of the belt and the material of the belt, our belts are considerably better than what's out there.
I know I get asked the question a lot, does their stock belt work with our kits? And in most cases, they do not, for those reasons in particular. We're very precise in our calibration with belts, right?
Yes, we're very precise in that. And it all comes in with durability, the calibration for drive away, fuel economy. It's all included. And of course, longevity of it. You're really getting a lot of bang for your buck. And we put everything that we could into our DuraBelts, and they are the best that we can build.
So Tim, we've had this really good design, team-tied secondary. It's been super efficient and customers have been really happy with it. Is this still available with the R series?
This is mated with our first R series, and we did that because dimensionally it worked out, functionally it worked out. It has been a very tried and true clutch for us, and that's why we mated it with our first R series clutch. But now when we go up to the RXL diameter, which is a large diameter clutch, this clutch diameter cannot handle the ratios that we have for this. So we are using the best that we have and what is available. And we've actually improved the calibration on them, which is most important for efficiency. Where we're using the large diameter OEMs and we're changing the calibrations inside of them. We have to use that because of the diameter. So that's what we're using with the new larger RXL.
We sell everything as a complete package. Why is that?
Well, first of all, we don't know if the consumer has a brand new vehicle, has got 1,000 miles, 5,000 miles, and we don't know what the condition of the clutches are, number one. And we don't want to be selling just a single component into a system that's worn out. with a belt that's already worn out. And the biggest part of it is our calibrations are not just with the drive clutch. It's a total marriage between the drive clutch, the driven, and the belt. It's a tuned unit. And that's why we sell them as a kit, is because we know what they're getting. It's all new. It's the best that we have, and it's a tuned system. And then we know where they're starting with, and we know what they can expect.
Does the customer, when they get the product, they should not have to change any rollers or cam or helix, correct?
Right. They're getting a totally tuned system that they just have to bolt on, plug and play.
Oh, that is fantastic.